What does the fact that he wanted to survive say to you?
It says that he's not he's not suicidal. Apparently, he wasn't going to take his own life if he was almost being captured. Clearly, we saw that he was captured without that, and it tells me that he's probably much more politically motivated. The last shooter in Pennsylvania, I don't want to say his name because I don't want to promote him in any way, but he was clearly a guy that was looking for the notoriety of taking that shot. I would think we're going to find that this guy's extremely politically motivated, and that he probably was spurred on by much of the political diatribes that are going on these days, talking about Trump, equating him to Hitler and things like that. So I don't think this is the last we'll see of crazies out there trying to do this.
I think it is so stupid and counterproductive to spend time trying to downplay the fact that the guy 2 times, there have been people trying to kill him over the last 90 days. We are not a country in which political violence can be condoned. And just because Donald Trump helped incite January 6th does not make 2 wrongs equal a right. Right? We need to be better than that. Not the same or worse. It is a bad thing that twice in 90 days, the nominee of one of the 2 major parties was the victim or the focus of an attempted assassination. Period. It does not matter if it's Democrat or Republican or independent or green or libertarian. It should not matter that it is Donald Trump, because we believe that this is not a good thing, or at least we should, that you do not resort to violence to try to get the means and end that you are aiming at.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about the fallout from the second failed assassination attempt on former President Trump. Now, you would think that the mainstream liberal media and the Democrat Party would have learned their lesson about their unhinged language towards Trump and how that definitely is causing political violence in this country. Okay, you would think that they would have some civility. You would think that they would back off, but no. They're not backing off, because a lot of these people in the media are upset about the second failed assassination attempt against Trump for various reasons, including because they believe that it makes him more popular, that he's going to get a boost in the polls because this will be used by the campaign to help Trump win the presidency. I mean, they're trying to kill the guy, right? And I think that is something that the American people should be aware of.
I think what we're finding out, he's not from this area, which of course raises the bigger question is, how does a guy from not here get all the way to Trump International, realize that the president, former president of the United States, is golfing and is able to get a rifle in that vicinity? I think that's the question the FBI, the Secret Service are laser focused on today. Is this guy part of a conspiracy? Is he a lone gunman? If he's a lone gunman, President Trump is that much safer because we have him. But if he's part of a conspiracy, then this whole thing really takes on a very ominous tone.
And Sheriff, you mentioned the witness.
And it tells you everything you need to know about how Trump is actually a threat to the establishment, right? That he's not just same old. If you really want change, okay, the guy that they're trying to kill probably is most likely to give you the change, which is why it seems like they're trying to kill him, which is why CNN is upset, because they know that this probably will help Trump when it comes to the election. Take a look.
I really, I don't care what you feel about him or Harris. I mean, this is the expectation that he will be safe, and the reason why this is, in some ways, you said how close the election is. The problem is this is a safety issue that is being thrown into a very intense political environment in which the very fact of an assassination, a constitutional moment, because it could have impacted voters, will be used for political purposes, and that to me is just exceptionally unfortunate, because whatever your beliefs are, we do deserve to have campaigns that are not where violence isn't being used as either a sword or a shield.
Yeah, amazing. Violence shouldn't be used as a sword or a shield for political purposes. Says the same people who spent the last 3 years using January 6th and the violence that occurred that day as a sword against the Republicans. Now, all of a sudden, fast forward 3 years later, Trump is the victim of multiple assassination attempts. And now all of a sudden, no, you can't do that, right? You can't use violence that comes from our side of the aisle, right? You can't use violence that comes from the left side of the aisle as a sword against us, right? You can't do that, okay? You see how this works, guys? Okay, CNN, instead of talking about the fact that there seems to be a conspiracy here, that maybe, just maybe, something bigger is going on here in regards to this shooter knowing that Trump will be golfing at the time that he did, coming all the way from Hawaii, apparently, and getting that close to the President of the United States. Yeah, instead of talking about that, what we actually should be talking about is the circumstances around this and how this was allowed to happen, just kind of like what happened in Pennsylvania. No. They're more worried about whether or not this is going to be a positive for the Trump campaign in regards to winning the election. And instead of doing some self-reflection and asking themselves, hey, are we part of the problem, right? Are we the issue when it comes to the political violence in this country? No. What they're doing is that they're openly trying to blame Trump, right? They're trying to place blame on Trump for left-wing lunatics attempting to take his life. And then they pretend like they don't know the motivations behind why these lunatics are trying to kill the former president. Take a look.
Some of the excerpt here from his interview that he did with Fox News Digital, where he says he, the shooter, believed the rhetoric of Biden and Harris and he acted on it. Their rhetoric is causing me to be shot at when I am the one who is going to save the country, and they are the ones that are destroying the country, both from inside and out. Again, sources say, though, that he is in good spirits and that the campaign is not going to change any of its previous plans. He had several events this week in Washington, D.C., as well as Michigan and Uniondale, New York. They say everything on his schedule is going to stay exactly the same.
Gloria Borger, I'll start with you. Give us your analysis, first of all, of Trump blaming Harris and Biden for this apparent attempt at his life, even as they condemn political violence.
Well, I don't think it's really surprising, Wolf. We don't even know the motivations of this would-be shooter. We know very little about him now. And the first time this happened to Donald Trump, when he was actually shot, he sang a different tune. He was calling for civility. He said, I'm going to be nice now. And at this point, he is no longer doing that. He's decided to point a finger at Kamala Harris, even though he is a candidate who has called the other side vermin and who constantly says if they're elected, you're not going to have a country anymore. There's a little bit of this going on both sides, this sort of that each side sees the other side as an existential threat to America. But I think it's a little rich for Trump to say, this is Kamala Harris's doing when we know very, very little about this man and what his motives were.
Yeah, good point. S.E. Cupp, how dangerous are these Trump comments during this already rather tense moment for the country?
Very. And look, I agree with the ecumenical sentiment that rhetoric and words matter and that we should tone down the divisive rhetoric. However, as Gloria is pointing out, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that bomb threats on Springfield, Ohio, schools and hospitals have nothing to do with Trump and the Trump campaign. You can't say Trump has no responsibility for an attack on Paul Pelosi, no responsibility for Jan 6th, no responsibility for threats against election workers, no responsibility for threats against Dr. Fauci and health administrators. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So
No. You can say that Trump does not have any responsibility for a vast majority of the things that S.E. Cupp pointed out, including the bomb threats in Springfield, Ohio, because the governor came out and said that those threats were hoaxes, right? That they came from Ford actors. They were not inspired by Trump. Like, we know that for a fact, but yet S.E. Cupp apparently didn't do her research before going on air and basically stating that lie, blaming Trump for threats that we know for a fact have been verified to not have anything to do with him or JD Vance. And it just really blows my mind that these people are trying to really blame the president for a failed assassination attempt against him, right? This is what they're doing, okay? Because they'd rather stay Trump deranged than to take personal responsibility and accountability for their rhetoric and the role that they played in political violence, not just against the former president, but all across this country in these liberal cities, right? We've seen nothing but left-wing violence, but yet these people always want to point the finger at Trump and say that he's the cause of all the political violence, when a vast majority of the violence is being done against him and is being done by the left. Again, it's amazing how that works. It's also amazing how CNN is saying, well, we don't really know that much about the shooter, except we know a whole lot about the shooter. We know that he was very pro-Ukraine. He sees the war between Russia and Ukraine as a battle of good versus evil, right? He sees Ukraine as a representation of democracy, okay? And you must protect democracy at all costs. This is the type of rhetoric that Joe Biden uses, that Kamala Harris uses, that everybody in the mainstream liberal media uses. And this guy was clearly radicalized by this rhetoric. I mean, he's a Biden-Harris supporter. He was a Trump deranged individual, okay? He was actively trying to make sure that Trump doesn't become president of the United States again, right? We know that for a fact. But yet, again, according to CNN, oh, well, we didn't know that much about him. We don't know that much, okay? Now, again, it's funny because we really don't know that much about the guy that attacked Paul Pelosi, but according to CNN, we know for a fact the guy's a Trumper, right? Although there's no evidence at all that that guy supported Trump or that he was influenced by Trump at all, right? There's zero, none. But this is the conclusion they came to. Now, when it comes to this situation where we know for a fact that this guy was influenced by Joe Biden, by Kamala Harris, by the mainstream liberal media, oh, well, we don't know that much, right? We don't know that much. We're still trying to figure it out. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You can't make this stuff up. These people deny reality for a living at this point, right? It's their specialty. But the good thing is that CNN employs Scott Jennings, okay? And Scott Jennings, a Republican, is going to go off on CNN about the rhetoric that is aired on outlets like CNN that we all know contributed to the failed assassination attempts against the former president. Take a look.
But the rhetoric is on both sides. It's coming from the right.
The rhetoric,
it's coming from the left.
The rhetoric. They have tried to kill this man twice. Okay, he got shot in the ear, and this guy was sitting up shop outside of a golf course to try to kill him this weekend. And I know after something like this happens, it's very fashionable to talk about rhetoric on both sides. Donald Trump is the target. Okay, he's the current target, and it's happening, and it's happened again. And I just, honestly, we have to have a conversation about elections. If you lose an election, the country's not going to come to an end, okay? What I want Democrats to do, honestly, is to say, it's okay. Like, if Donald Trump wins, democracy will not end, the Constitution will not end, we're not going to live in a dictatorship, there will not be a bloodbath. All the things they say that are totally fabricated, to me, it would be a good day to stop doing that. The most important thing that could possibly happen, in my opinion, is for everybody to agree, especially Democrats, that the country is not going to be irreparably damaged if Democrats lose, that our Constitution is not going to go away, democracy is not going to come to an end, there will be no bloodbath, there will be no dictatorship on day one, which they all say all day long on this network and others. If everyone could just agree that that kind of hyperbolic statement will not take place anymore and that it's not been true every time it's been said, that would be a step in the right direction. And I know everybody's talking today about all the rhetoric in this country and what are we going to do to fix it going forward. Folks, it's too late. It's too late, in my opinion, because all the rhetoric about Donald Trump over the last several years, that he's a threat to democracy, that the country will come to an end if he gets elected president again. Even over the weekend, we had people blaming him and JD Vance for a bomb threat in Springfield. Well, if you have believed that over the weekend, then how can you not believe that the rhetoric leading up to today is not somehow responsible for the fact that this man has now survived 2 assassination attempts? So what I want Democrats to do, honestly, is to say, it's okay. Like, if Donald Trump wins, democracy will not end, the Constitution will not end, we're not going to live in a dictatorship, there will not be a bloodbath. All the things they say that are totally fabricated, to me, it would be a good day to stop doing that.
Yeah, but the unfortunate reality is that they're not going to. Right? They're not going to stop with the rhetoric. They don't want to stop with the rhetoric. They don't care about the assassination attempts on the president. They don't care. they just don't want Trump in the White House. That's just what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. This is why they don't want to have a real conversation about what happened or why it happened. No, they want to deflect and talk about Springfield. They want to talk about Trump putting people in danger, putting himself in danger apparently now, right? They just want to blame Trump for everything. This is what they want to do, okay? I mean, they're blaming Trump for his own assassination attempts. It's insanity. It really is. But Scott Jennings is right. Right now, this is happening to Trump. There's no both sides here. So I don't want to hear anything about no both sides. No. They are engaging in both sidism, okay? They're engaging in that because it's a distraction and a deflection from the fact that Democrats are the cause of a vast majority of the political violence in this country. And you can throw the liberal media in there as well, too, as a part of the cause, okay? There's no both sides when it comes to political violence in this country. There's not. A vast majority of it is coming from the left, from far leftists, Democrats, liberals. That's what majority of it is coming from. So when you try to make it about both sides, again, you're trying to take the focus off of the responsibility that Democrats and the liberal media bears in the political violence that we're seeing in this country. That's what they're doing. And this is why we cannot allow this conversation to be a both sides conversation, because it's not a both sides conversation. All the left talks about January 6th because that's the only thing they got. That's it. They don't have anything else outside of that. They'll point to Charlottesville or something like that. And even in that, they lie because they don't have much with that either, right? They don't have much at all. Okay, but we got a whole lot against them, right? We got a whole lot against them. But they want to make it seem like that's the equivalent. January 6th is the equivalent of months and months and months of rioting, looting, vandalism, destruction that happened from BLM. January 6th is the equivalent of months and months and months of violence and destruction that's happened in this country from Antifa, from the Roe v. Wade rioters, the pro-Palestinian riot, all that pales in comparison to January 6th. No, that's actually not the case. January 6th is very, very, very insignificant compared to all of those things that we've seen from the left. It's extremely insignificant, right? It's like a blip, right? It's a blip. And the crazy part is that all this started under Obama, right? We started saying this under a Democrat. And it only got worse under Trump because the liberal media created more division and hate in this country, right? This is what they did, lying about Trump, exaggerating things, trying to make him seem like he's worse than he really is, taking his words out of context, things like that. They stoked that division, okay? And then once Biden got in office, it got even worse. It got worse. It didn't get better. It got worse. So, again, if you're one of these people that are voting based off political violence and you want to see the political violence stop, then in my opinion, the only logical person to vote for would be Trump. It would be Trump, because we've seen under Democrats, not only do we have an uptick of political violence, but they're also the ones that are behind it. Okay, that they're people, right? The people on their side of the aisle, they're the ones that are doing it, and Democrats aren't speaking out about it. They're not condemning it in a lot of cases. In some cases, they're just outright supporting it if they feel like it benefits them. And that's where we're at in this country. That's where we're at. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.